CEPI started actually as a result of conferences that were held in 2003, 2004. The late Charlie Joe Dennis, he had this idea that we could rally around a body of water like the Bredor Lakes and really work together for its preservation and protection.
I remember clearly one day I got a phone call from Charlie. At that time he was the chief of Escazone. And the community had just graduated a lot of young people from university. And he was asking me, Dan, what do we do with all these young people who have their degrees? What's next for them? How do we provide an opportunity or a future for them? And that phone call stayed with me because I didn't know how to answer Charlie at that time. Yes, we were graduating a lot of young people, but then they were unemployed. There was no work, there was no job, there was no opportunities, there was no business. So yes, just as much as Charlie cared about Bredor Lakes, he also cared about our young people. And he was wondering, he was worried about what their future would look like. So last year, after Charlie had passed away, and I was asked by the Unama'ki chiefs if I would take over as the chair of CEPI. I thought about Charlie, and I thought about, well, maybe it's time once again to bring people together from all around the Bredor Lakes and talk about its future. And in particular, I was wondering about that conversation I had on the phone with Charlie. Maybe it's time to talk about the future, but maybe it's also time to talk about the future of our young people who want to stay and who want to live around the Bredor Lakes.
It's a beautiful place. I grew up here. I love living in Cape Breton, and for me, I choose to stay here forever. This is my home, and I will always live here. And my daughter, I hope she does the same thing, but she can't do the same thing if there's no opportunity for her.
It doesn't seem like a lot of people are considering staying in Cape Breton. A lot of people are heading out west or heading out wherever to find better opportunities, higher paying jobs. A lot of people don't feel like they have any input of what happens with the future of Cape Breton, environmentally, socially, or politically.
Just in general, I feel that many sort of challenges aren't being necessarily tackled with a youth perspective in mind.
I think a lot of youth feel like their voices are being heard, and a lot of things are happening that maybe seem complicated or over their head concerning the environment.
Our generation and the generations after us are the future of this country, and we really need to pull together and maybe even change the direction of the way things are going, because in the future everybody's best interest needs to be considered.
In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, Mr. Christmas wanted all youth of Unama'ki to have a meaningful role in this conference, and that's where we came in. Under the guidance of Annie E. Johnson, Stan Johnson, and Waddy Long, we were brought together and given the task to answer some important questions.
What we're doing is we're conducting a survey. We're having a conference this fall on sustainable development practices around the Bredor Lakes communities. In the conference, we're looking at 6 pillars of development. And why we're looking at these pillars are all of these pillars that we're looking at, they have something to do with the environment. So if you develop any of these pillars, it will have some kind of effect on the environment. And what these pillars are tourism, forestry, mining, aquaculture, agriculture, and renewable energy.
And so the question that haunted me, I suppose, is this question. How can we develop the Bredor Lakes in a sustainable way so that our young people can have a future here as well?
We're trying to get the opinions of these young people. We really wanted to set the tone of this conference. The surveys, the events at NSCC have been called It's Our Future sessions. So we're really getting the point across to them that this is your future. And if you want to stay in Cape Breton, which a lot of them do, which most of them do, we're encouraging them to get involved and see what we can do.
People are going to have to deal with the consequences of the choices of now. And it's the youth that are ultimately going to have to live with that, 10 to 20 years down the road from now. So it makes sense that we have a voice in sharing our opinion and telling people what we feel needs to be done.
We're not just talking the talk here, we're walking the walk under the direction of Dan Christmas, who is the chair of CEPI. He has made a point that the youth get a session at this conference. I will welcome to the stage the CEPI youth leaders and the NSCC Green Team members that will be presenting this data. Kelsey Francis, Shane Cormier, Tracy George, and Stephen Gugu.
We're fortunate to have a really dynamic group of young people that are working together. These people are they're already leaders in their community in some capacity, some of them in very official forms, such as a band counselor for their community, but some of them are just, they're part of their green team at school, or they're part of, they're already involved in their community in some way.
Our initiative as youth leaders is to get these surveys out, to survey the youth, to see what we can do to keep them in Cape Breton. What can we accommodate you to make you stay in Cape Breton or come to Cape Breton?
So we headed out to high schools, community events, NSCC Strait Area Campus, NSCC Marconi Campus, Cape Breton University, and we surveyed people online.
What the survey is looking at is actually, we're asking kids, what would keep you here in Cape Breton? Like, what would you like to see here? Are you planning on starting your own business? Are you planning on going to school away? Are you planning on getting married? Or all sorts of questions like that. So basically, we're putting it in the youth's hands as to what they want to do with their future.
Going into the classroom and speaking with other students was a little nerve-wracking at first. I had a class of 30 students, and I don't know if they really were very aware of what CEPI does or really thought about the environment, but we did have some good class discussions, and they agree that our word is very important and that we need to have our voice heard because it's us that have to deal with the future. So
it's really been an honor to work with the CEPI youth leaders all summer, fall, and of course the Green Team. The Green Team put a lot of work through the NSCC. They're here today to cheer us on. I'm very proud to have met all you guys and work with all you guys.
According to Wendy Bergfeld of CBC Radio, our survey was the biggest youth survey ever conducted on Cape Breton Island. We surveyed over 2,000 youth and over 100 elders.
Either we become history or we make history. And I wanted to make history with you guys.
For me, the strongest first impression was on day one when the first voices we heard were those from the Green Team and the youth who stepped up. Thank you for your leadership in bringing us.
I have great faith in the young people in this island. As a faculty member at Nova Scotia Community College, I get a new class every year. And what we did this summer, the communities we went to, I have great faith. There's young people are innovative, they're energetic, they have ideas, they care, they are environmentally conscious, and they really love their home. I think we all know this. You'd have to be a Cape Bretoner to understand this, but we all love Cape Breton Island, and they want to stay here.
Cape Breton's beautiful, and family's here, and I wouldn't want to leave.
We have to do something soon to try to get people to stay here and to make it thrive again.
Thank you for listening, and the youth of the lakes have spoken.